Welcome to Fantasy Fanline.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy football season. Welcome to Fantasy Fanline, the only fantasy football call-in show putting you on the air with industry experts each and every week. I'm your host, Greg Scalera. We're here, everybody. We did it. Week one is upon us. As always, if you're familiar with the show, if you've tuned in before, then you know we feature different guests from around the fantasy football industry every week to take your calls live on the air and answer your questions. Give us a call anytime during the broadcast. 618-FANLINE is the number, and you can get on our show, talk some fantasy football with us. We're live right now and every Saturday, the whole rest of the season, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. You can catch us the next day if you missed us on your favorite podcast platform in audio format. Subscribe everywhere, all platforms at Fantasy Fanline. Hit the bell if there's a bell on your platform. It'll let you know when we're on the air. So you can also visit our website, fantasyfanline.com, see a full schedule of our upcoming guests, and submit a question to our mailbag if you can't join us live. If you like the show, tell a friend, leave a review. We need all the support we can get. We're a brand new show. Today's guest, oh my goodness, I'm going to bring him on, Aaron Larson. Aaron, how are you, dude?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Ready for week one to kick off.
Aaron is a man who needs no introduction. I'm going to give him one anyway. He is a staff writer for the Fantasy Footballers. He's a contributor to Fantasy Pros and Team Rise or Fall. That is the dream, man. How long have you been part of all these brands?
This is going to be my third season writing with the Fantasy Footballers, which is pretty awesome. And then I just started with Team Rise or Fall back in June, I think. So pretty new with them. They're a pretty new platform. And then Fantasy Pros is actually where I pretty much started writing news desk updates with those guys. And now I just kind of do the ECR and pieces here and there.
That's awesome, man. I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of all those brands. I'm a big Fantasy Footballers guy. I think probably most people out there playing the game or in the industry can say the same. I'm a big Fantasy Pros guy. I think they have some of the best tools in the industry for, preseason draft time and also in-season, player and team management. You also host your own show, the Process Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm a fan of that as well. Do you want to plug it? Let the people know where and when? Yeah.
Yep, that's my... So I record that Wednesday nights. I call it the Process because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm just crunching everything or whatever, and I kind of just dump it all out into a microphone Wednesday night, and it goes live Thursday morning. Try to keep it about 20 to 30 minutes and go through my landscape of the week.
Yeah, I know you like to go through your kind of weekly process and sort of identify differences and chalk takes from around the industry, maybe highlight some places where people are sleeping on guys that you like and vice versa. It's a great show. Can't recommend it enough. You just dropped your week one episode a couple days ago. Maybe we'll get into some of those guys that you like or maybe are fading a little later this week. It's so hard in week one, man, especially looking at, matchups against defenses. Those metrics don't really tend to carry over with all the off-season changes and personnel and things. What does your process kind of look like for week one? You just
for week one, kind of like what you said, it's tough. Like it's tough to get in the routine, and we've just spent the last 6 months or more just looking over every minute detail and how has this change happened, and it's so much just projection. There's so much we don't know, but we want to know. So you do your best. You get your guys you like, and you like the, take the matchups with a grain of salt at this point, I think.
Yeah, it's week one. You're probably starting your studs. Most of the guys that you drafted in the first 5, 6, maybe 7 rounds. The start-sit questions really come up in the flex spot and your wide receiver threes, and all of the fun injury breaking news over the past couple of weeks have thrown a wrench in things. So, we'll get into all that. Anybody who wants to call in can call in, and I will get the number up on the screen here. If you have start-sit questions for week one or, waiver advice, free agency questions, give us a call. Aaron will guide you to the promised land. That is not a promise. That is not a guarantee. Just not legal advice. Dude, you want to talk a little bit about the articles that you write for the Fantasy Footballers? I know you do the Target Report, which is huge. If anyone hasn't read it, it's a super useful look at one of the best metrics out there, targets. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that is my in-season article every week. And basically, like you said, it's not just a list of, hey, here's the guys that got the most targets. It is looking at trends and guys that are getting on the field and getting the ball thrown to them, which is such a good fantasy metric because it shows opportunity, and that's what we're really looking for. And then on the other side of it too, highlight guys that aren't getting targets, because there's some big names, and you look at the box score, you have 1, 2, 3 targets in a game. Those are guys you might want to start thinking to avoid.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's a tremendous article, great resource. I'm actually going to move. We have our first caller of the show coming in.
Nice.
So we're going to take this, see who we got on the line. They're listening to our sweet waiting music as we speak. Hey, caller, you are on Fantasy Fanline. Who's on the line? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chris calling from Brooklyn.
What's going on, Chris? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Excited for week 1.
Oh, so
Definitely.
are we, man. So are we. What do you got for Aaron today? You got any questions ahead of the first Sunday of the season?
Yeah, what's up, Aaron? I got a start-sit question.
Bring it on.
All right.
So I drafted Sony Michel towards the end of a pretty deep league that I play in, and I felt kind of smart for drafting him, like, haha, right after the trade. Maybe he's going to be like an RB1 with the Rams. How do you feel about him this week? Because I'm kind of torn between playing him and kind of rolling the dice, not knowing what his role is going to be, or also maybe playing a more, steady kind of guy. Like I have Mike Williams of the Chargers.
Rams are at the Bears this week, by the way.
Yeah. Did we lose him? Is he still there?
Oh, yeah, he's still here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. If it's between Mike Williams and Sony Michel, that's kind of, I would look at the matchup you've got, your opponent. If you are feeling pretty good about how your matchup looks, I would put Sony Michel out there because he's going to get some usage. They traded for him, and he's been there long enough. He's going to get the ball a little bit. Mike Williams, he's boom or bust. So if you feel like you got to kind of shoot for ceiling a little bit, maybe you're a bit of an underdog in a matchup because he's a guy that could go out there for 2 touchdowns. He could have a 100-yard game, but he could also get 1 catch for 20 yards, So I think that's really a look at your matchup. If you're looking for safety, I think Michel is safer. But if you want to shoot for that ceiling, definitely go Mike Williams.
I love that answer.
Gotcha.
I always think it's really important to identify kind of the advantages of, risk-reward players, ceiling versus floor players, especially in a late-night game. I know Rams are playing Sunday night, so we got the Thursday game out of the way. Take a look and see where you are in your point projections against your opponent. If you need a floor, go ahead and take Michel. Shoot for this guy with Mike Williams. I think that's why you drafted Mike Williams anyway, to kind of put a stick of dynamite in your lineup. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Our pleasure, man. Have an awesome day. Thanks for calling the show. Hope we get you on again next week.
Yeah, catch you guys later.
See you, Chris.
See ya.
All right, there you go. We have a question coming in, it looks like from Twitter, from Jeff Greenwald.
Oh,
hey. Best fullback, he wants to know.
Oh, man. Is it the Juice or is it Ricard? I think with all the Baltimore injuries, it's got to be Pat Ricard. I mean, the dude might get he might be the second leading rusher this year.
There you go, Jeff, answering the important questions. That's why people tune into this show for fullback analysis.
I don't know why he's asking the questions, man. He's the expert.
Well,
I think it's in his bio.
Specifically on fullbacks? Well, I think this was just a really sneaky plug for you to go check out Jeff Greenwald's fullback analysis. But we have weighed in on the topic. We are part of the conversation, and we are about to take another call from a caller.
All right.
Let's see who we got. Caller, you are on Fantasy Fanline. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, guys? It's Sanch calling from New Jersey. I'm back. Love the show.
Welcome back,
Before I
Sanch.
start, I'm just saying there's some extra work out there. If you guys need some extra money, I heard the Ravens practice squad grounds crew. They're hiring right now since they laid everyone else off.
Yeah,
So
I think I saw that job post on Indeed.
If anyone needs a job there, I'm sure you'll do a way better job than the past employees they had. So
yeah, fill those potholes.
That brings me to my question. Well, obviously these two injuries, or more than two, but the two crucial ones that happened recently, it's horrible for the Ravens as a team. But is it just me, or do you think that propels Lamar Jackson's ceiling even higher for fantasy this year with all those crucial injuries on both sides of the ball, to be honest?
Yeah, I totally agree with that take. When Dobbins first went down and everybody was saying how much Gus Edwards was going to increase and who's behind him, and that started me kind of leading to probably just going to have to use Lamar Jackson that much more. And then Gus Edwards went down, and then the injuries on the defense as well, the cornerback that went down. So yeah, I think that is spot on. They could be playing from behind more, so they could be chasing points, actually throwing. That's one of those things we talk about. We don't really know what the Baltimore Ravens offense is going to look like. What if Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball more, and we know he's still going to be running it? So yeah, I would not be surprised at all if he comes back to that quarterback one overall for fantasy this season.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing right now. The question is always when a key piece of the offense goes down, it makes the offense worse, but does it increase the opportunity, the volume for other players enough to make up for it? Lamar Jackson was kind of always the running back one over there anyway. I think it's only going to boost his, I think, the valuable touches that he gets, even if it means less proficiency in and around the red zone. Lamar Jackson's looking more and more like the offense over there by the day, him and Mark Andrews. So, Sanch, what do you think, man?
Yeah, exactly what I thought. You got to get the Lizard King, Sammy Watkins, in those week one lineups, and then throw him high right after.
Well, and I think
hopefully when Boykin comes,
I think if you have a IR spot on your roster, Rashad Bateman, I know he's been kind of left for dead, but when he comes back, he might be the number one target there, and they're going to need targets.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins going off in week one.
I misunderstood for the past. But Bateman, I think Bateman is going to be – he's a stud, and I think if Jackson can get him the ball, it's going to be great for his fantasy production. And if they could throw the ball more, those run lanes are open even more. So I'm all for it. I love Lamar Jackson. He's top 3 for me. I think he has a slim chance to finish 1. I think it could happen.
Yeah, I think it's more than slim. I think he's one of the few that has a good chance to do it.
I was going to say that too. Even most of the guys in that kind of top 8, top 10 range of quarterbacks, not all of them have that upside to finish number 1 overall. But I think really anybody with the kind of rushing potential of a Lamar Jackson, of a Josh Allen, those guys at any given time could explode and be the guy for the season.
Definitely.
I think Pat Mahomes is kind of that rare outlier of the guy who can just do it on arm alone. Yeah, love me some Lamar Jackson. Love Sammy Watkins exploding every year in week 1. It's my favorite football tradition, I think.
Him or Deshaun Jackson, one of those two.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson likes to do it and then get hurt and just kind of quits while he's ahead. He does the old...
just make sure to sell high. Sell high right after the big game.
If you can find a buyer, and whoever that buyer is probably doesn't listen to this show. So, Sanch, thanks for the question, man. You got anything else for us?
I just want to say best of luck to both of you this year. Hopefully our team stay healthy. I appreciate it. I'm so happy football is back. I know you guys feel the same way. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I can't wait.
Us too, man. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the question. Have a good one.
Nope. You too. Take it easy, guys.
See ya.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the Thursday night game, and we can break this down in a second, but my number one takeaway, man, is I love football. That was such a good game. Yes. It was all the fun we possibly could have hoped for in a shootout.
Yeah, that's the way to kick off the season.
Yeah, I had a really interesting experience watching it. I didn't watch as much of the preseason as I usually do. I caught up on everything, all the analysis afterwards, but with my actual eyeballs, I didn't see much of it. I was either working or on vacation out of the country. And the week one game, the Thursday night game, I was actually working a gig that I couldn't be watching the game. I was following along, kind of watching the stats come in, and I was like, oh, this is so great. We're back. And then I'm driving home in like the third quarter, and I'm listening on the radio, and I was like, oh, this is even better. We are back. This is the best. And I got home for the fourth quarter and walked into my living room and put the game on the big screen, and I was like, this is the best.
Just escalating all night long. I love that.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. I see we have another caller coming in. We're going to take this before we move into the Thursday night game.
Awesome.
What's going on, caller? You are on Fantasy Fanline. Welcome to the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, John from Chicago.
What's going on, John from Chicago?
Hey, quick question. I'm in a full PPR 10-team league. I'm debating on my flex. It's between Mostert, Gaskin, and Johnson, the new guy from the Ravens.
Tyson Johnson. Yeah, Aaron, I know you have some specific thoughts about Mostert and Gaskin as far as fading them this week, but I will hand this question over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, so those are both guys that I don't love from a season long, but I will admit this week is a good week to play Mostert. Against the Lions, should be a good narrative, and he is healthy right now as far as we know. So of that, I would play Mostert. He can give you a big play at any time. Myles Gaskin, I don't think is the guy. I think that's going to be the three-headed committee in Miami as much as we get these beat reports saying this, that, and the other. And, Tyson in Baltimore, he's going to get the workload this week, but I think Mostert gives you a higher ceiling. So that's another, we talk about what are you shooting for, floor or ceiling? If you're looking for floor, I would play Tyson, and if you're looking for that ceiling, I would go with Mostert.
Yeah, you gotta kind of follow the beat reporters. The early reports out of Baltimore that I've heard is that it's every opportunity for Tyson to win and keep this job.
I've seen that coming out the last couple of days too, and it's what are the coaches going to say? Oh no, we're going to throw him to the bench right away. Like,
of course, yeah. That I think is a better example of narrative. I know that when you say narrative, sometimes you're talking about game flow and things and kind of projecting the way the game's going to go. I think there's a lot more merit to those sorts of projections, expecting the 49ers to come in and dominate that game against the Lions. They're going to run a lot. I think that is a sticky kind of stat when you're coming to projections. I like Mostert from that bunch as well this week.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the question, and hope you join us again sometime in the future.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Take it easy.
Bye.
There you go, an actual caller from Chicago who was kind of forced to be a Bears fan, unlike myself, who chose the way of suffering over the years. But again, I'm in New Jersey, so my other options were the Giants and the Jets.
Great either.
Anyway, it's not like I turned down, being a Patriots fan at the height of their success or anything. That would have been certifiably questionable. But let's get into Thursday night a little bit, man. I know we try not to overreact coming out of week one, and I'm going to be very even-keeled and cool-headed when I say that Amari Cooper looks like the best wide receiver to ever play football in the history of the game. Jerry Rice who, Randy Moss what? It is Amari Cooper season. What were your big kind of takeaways from the night?
Yeah, I mean, that was it, that Amari Cooper is still the wide receiver one in Dallas. And that Dallas, I think, is going to be throwing the ball a lot this season. Both teams are. I mean, they were barely running the ball on either side. From the Tampa side, I know he kind of didn't have the biggest night, but I think Chris Godwin, he led the team in targets. I think he is going to be the receiver that you want to play every week there. And I think Antonio Brown had the big game. Mike Evans, not so much. I think those two guys are going to probably kind of ping pong back and forth. You'll get big games, but they might disappear kind of like Evans did. So I think Godwin is definitely the guy to trust there.
You're expecting Godwin to kind of be consistently usable on a week-to-week basis, kind of in that high wide receiver 2 range, maybe low 1, depending on the matchup.
Yep.
Mike Evans, 1,000 yards every year he's been in the league. You think this is the year we kind of break that streak?
I think he keeps going, but I think it's going to be close, and I think the 17th game is going to help.
Yeah, I feel like we need to prorate that number a little bit coming into this season.
It's going to mess up so many stats now moving forward.
It is, but mess it up in a way that makes them more fun because the numbers are going to be higher. And I think I agree with that, man. It felt like a really typical Mike Evans game where he just caught a few passes for not a ton of yards. But he just didn't get that touchdown or 2 or 3 that he would get per game last season that really made him the guy over there.
I'm excited to see Ronald Jones just go off next week when everybody benches him, though.
Yeah. I was gonna get to that. Is Fournette the guy over there? Doesn't seem like it. Jones had a big fumble. I didn't see him pop up on the stat sheet the rest of the game. What's the deal?
I think those are guys that are going to be desperation plays all year. You're not going to want to play them, but if you need a running back, you kind of flip a coin and see which one you want to put in, because we're never going to get it right.
Yeah, agreed. I think the best bet for that question, which running back you start, is just to kind of start them in the weeks where you expect a lot of running volume from the team as a whole.
Yep,
or
hope that the matchups where they should get out to a big lead to start off and run the game out.
Exactly, and hopefully your guy is the guy to break that big play or fall into the end zone. But Fournette, had a lot of catches in that game. I'm going to bring up kind of a relevant question from our mailbag. Is Gio Bernard not going to be a PPR thing, and do we drop him for a Baltimore running back from Jared in Pennsylvania? I only saw Gio at the tail end of the game when they were kind of running their 2-minute drill. He caught a couple of nice passes from Brady. Well, made a couple of nice catches. I wouldn't say the passes were
that one that he had to go down and get, that was a nice catch.
That was a nice catch.
Yeah, in that situation, I would go with one of the Baltimore running backs. I think they're going to be more stable in your lineup. I really do think that a couple of weeks from now, we're going to look at Latavius Murray as a guy you can start every week. I know that we just talked about the reports coming out about his job to lose or whatever, but I think Latavius is just a better running back that will take it over eventually. Gio, I think he'll have PPR usage from time to time. It's going to be another one that's hard to predict.
Yeah, I came in kind of feeling that way too about Gio Bernard, is that maybe he'll have some utility in higher volume passing situations and shootouts, but that was as much of a shootout, I think, as you're going to see all season, and he didn't really get much, man. He had a couple catches, some yards, he moved the chains, but probably a better addition for the team and for Brady than for anything else.
Yeah.
I think that people were kind of hoping he would be the James White of the Patriots era, Tom Brady, but that's a narrative projection. It's how much of that was the Patriots system, how much of that was Belichick, how much of it was Brady. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's got to have that short passing game, but he's really airing it out over.
Well, and he didn't have the 3 receivers and a tight end like this when he had when James White was getting 100 targets.
that too, man. He was throwing it to nobody in New England. So great question. Hope that clears things up. Gio was one of those kind of late round flyer guys that I was going to throw a dart at and kind of see what the week 1 usage looked like. And I think we saw it. I think we know where he is.
He's a guy I was grabbing a lot at the end of when I was doing best ball drafts this summer. And I think, he'll have a game here or there. But again, trusting him is on a week-to-week basis is going to be tough.
Yeah, once he shaved that mustache, man, he lost all the sense.
Yeah, that was it.
I'm going to bring in another Tampa-related mailbag question from Corey in Ohio. Did we, collectively, the fantasy community, take Mike Evans too high in drafts? He was the top Bucs wide receiver drafted. I believe he was at the top of the 4th round, wide receiver 14. People were probably trying to get him as kind of a late possible wide receiver 1. Did we miss the boat on that one? What do you think?
I think so. I think that's too high for him. And I just going based off the teams that I drafted, noticing that I don't have him on any. He obviously was a little bit more rich than I was willing to. And we touched on it earlier. I think Godwin is going to be the guy that leads the team in targets that you can trust. Mike Evans, he might finish in the top 20 wideouts by the end of the season because he's going to have big games, but he's going to burn you sometimes too.
Yeah, I think it's a roster construction question, really. If you were getting him as a 2 and you weren't relying on him for consistent weekly high-end production, sure, you're not going to find a lot of guys with higher week-to-week upside than Mike Evans in that offense with that kind of goal line usage. But as far as top of the 4th, wide receiver 14, probably was a little too rich. I didn't get him in many places. Got him in a few leagues where he was falling. I think a lot of people had similar concerns that I did. But yeah, the answer to that question, ultimately, probably yes. Let's talk a little more about Thursday night. Want to break down some things from the Cowboys side of the ball. It looked like Michael Gallup was injured. I think it was announced recently he's going to miss a few weeks with a calf strain.
I think you're right. I think it's out 3 to 5.
Yeah, that really only makes things even more exciting for CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper.
Yes.
Do you look at anything from the tight ends on that team, especially with Gallup out now? There were so many mouths to feed in that passing game, but it seemed like they split the usage pretty evenly.
That's what I was going to just say. It seemed like they pretty much split the usage, had very similar numbers.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz was good last year, and Blake Jarwin looked good before he got hurt for that little bit in preseason in the previous years. So I think it's going to be a tight end by committee. And when there's two tight ends being used, it's rarely fantasy friendly for that situation.
Yeah. Once again, better news for the team and better news for Dak than I think for anything specifically with tight ends. For people who are looking to take a shot on Blake Jarwin, I don't think you're going to see much success this year, barring an injury to Dalton.
No, Schultz. I would go somewhere. Tight ends are such a crapshoot anyways, but I don't think Jarwin's a guy you're going to trust.
Yep, fair enough. How are we feeling about Zeke? Where are we on the panic meter?
I'm not too panicked yet. I mean, it wasn't great, but we know Tampa's run defense is one of the best in the league. It was already a shootout. He was out there. I think I saw he ran 44 routes. I mean, that's
amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
It's not like he was. I think the snap percentage was in the 70%, somewhere 73, 74%. That's rare to find. So he's gonna have better games. I would not panic on him yet.
Yeah, we knew coming in, I think, what to kind of expect out of this game. Tampa's a great run defense. It was going to be a shootout. Pulling up Zeke's exact stats right now: 11 carries, 33 yards. I think you just write it off and hope for better against better matchups. Are you trying to buy him low right now if you have an opportunity to do so? Yeah,
I would. If there's if the guy that's rostering Zeke is panicking right now, send offers because his value is only going to be going up at this point.
Yeah, brighter days ahead, plenty of upside, I think. Season long, it's going to be a great offense. Defense looked better than I was expecting, so maybe not as many shootouts on the year as last season.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, love Amari Cooper moving forward. He was a guy who I was really beating the drum for through draft season at his value. He was
I'm with you on that.
He was falling into the fourth, and if you started with two stud running backs and maybe a Travis Kelce or a Darren Waller and you grabbed Cooper as your one in the fourth, I mean, you're looking good, man.
Yeah, that was more that, everybody was scared off of he started camp off on the pup list or whatever, and panic set in.
Speaking of tight ends from this game, Gronk came out swinging, monster night, couple of touchdowns, something like 8 catches, I think, plenty of yards. Are you putting any trust in Gronk moving forward?
I think I would trust him. I think he's a startable tight end. You can't expect that performance every night or every week, but I think we kind of showed it. He's going to get targets. He's going to be in the mix, part of the system. So yeah, I think he is in that safe startable tight end mix right now.
Yeah, I think he got, it's faded a little bit from last season. We saw him start slow last season, kind of get acclimated back to kind of football playing speed. He was out of the game for 1 year, 2 years, but
yeah,
he and Brady have been playing together a long time, and I think that there are a lot of instinctive things and a lot of intuition factors that come into play.
The first touchdown, it seemed like they kind of just they had that mind meld going on there.
Yep, they read each other's minds. That's exactly what seemed to happen. So I think he's going to have weeks where he goes off. I've loved him for best ball coming into this year. But, if you waited a little and he fell in your drafts and you took a late shot at him, I think you're in for probably a better year than a lot of people were expecting, who were a little more afraid just because of so many mouths to feed over there. So, he's a tight end, and some weeks he's going to catch touchdowns. That's kind of what it looks like after, the Darren Waller, George Kittle kind of tier 2 of tight ends. So let's go through a little bit of news from the past week. We talked about really the biggest one was the Ravens running back situation. Gus Edwards, ACL tear confirmed by test. He is out for the year. If you're just tuning in, we talked a little bit earlier about what we kind of make of that backfield situation. It's a bit of a mess. Lev Bell's a big name. He's in Baltimore on the practice squad. Devonta Freeman's there. Are you just totally putting those guys aside? They're just names. They're just depth.
Yeah, only in the deepest leagues right now am I considering those guys. I kind of alluded to it before. I think Latavius Murray, he's not going to fully take over this job because Baltimore is a team that runs multiple backs. But I think by midseason, he's going to be the one you want.
Even for a guy who doesn't take kind of a full, 80-90% of the touches, Baltimore has led the league in rush attempts for something like 3 years now. So he's going to get so much volume.
Yep, that's why people were drafting Gus Edwards even when Dobbins was there, because we knew more than one running back is going to be relevant on this team.
Yeah, for sure. If PSA, if anybody out there is playing in a league where somebody dropped Latavius when he was cut by the Saints, go get him. Spend up. Don't go too crazy because we haven't seen it yet. But
it's dynasty, so it's a little bit different. But in my I have a dynasty league where I spent a third of my fab on him this week because he was sitting out there, and there's nobody in dynasty leagues to pick up right now. So
yeah, waivers are always thin in dynasty. I don't hate that move in that situation. I think he's got a big year coming, and even next year once everybody's healthy, maybe Latavius is there for a cup of coffee this year, puts in a good audition with other teams, and maybe he gets a starting role somewhere next year. He's a good player.
He's always been a better back than I think he's even credit for,
because he's been behind Alvin Kamara. So.
He was behind Kamara. Even on the Raiders, he had some good flashes.
That's very true. Let's move on to some other pieces of injury. We'll talk a little bit about the Giants here. I know people love to talk about the Giants in fantasy football. Kenny Golladay, hamstring, seems to be a full go, not listed on the injury report for week 1. What do you think of Golladay? He's got a tough matchup against the Broncos in week 1.
Yeah, in week 1, I am a little nervous about him, but from a season long, I think it's worth. I have him in a lot of places because he was just dropping. And I don't like hamstring injuries. But again, his happened so early, and then they were smart about it. They didn't rush him back. He's had time. So yeah, I think if you drafted him, you don't have to start him this week because you got him so late. He's probably your third or fourth receiver, and you probably have flex options. Yep. So monitor him for week 1. I think he's going to be out there, and I think season long, he's worth the risk.
Yeah, I don't blame you if you want to wait and see, especially week 1 with Denver. But he is supposedly healthy. Evan Ingram is banged up, so that's one less.
He's out.
One less target off the table as far as receiving options. And they paid him a lot of money to come in and catch a lot of passes, and I think he's going to do it. So speaking of the Giants, Saquon Barkley, ACL probable for Sunday. Where are we on the Saquon Barkley-ometer?
I'm comfortable, man. If you drafted him, you spent one of your top picks on him. The Giants, if they put him out there, which all signs point to him being out there, they might have him on a pitch count or a carry count. But these NFL coaches, they're coaching for their jobs. If it's a close game, which Vegas thinks it's going to be close. I think it's like a 2 or 3 point spread.
Yeah, it's
not going to be the fourth quarter, and they say, "Oh well, Saquon's got his 15 touches. Let's get him off the field." Like, they're going to keep giving him the ball and try to win the game.
Agreed. Yeah, we talked a little bit before about even in kind of the first round, second round of tier of players, there's only so many guys with number 1 overall upside at the position. Saquon's one of them. So if you got him at a value, late first, early second, I think news has been good coming into week 1.
And for week 1, you temper expectations a little bit, sure, and it is a tough matchup, but he's probably better than your bench options.
Yeah, I like the Broncos defense a lot this year.
They're my Vic favorite defense this week.
Yeah, as they should be. Vic did wonders in Chicago with our defense a few years ago. So I remember it well, man. Broncos are going to be tough this year, and I think that they haven't been getting as much credit as they probably should as a defense, a special teams option. Let's talk Carson Wentz, who has been dealing with foot and COVID issues. We'll start week 1 against Seattle. I know how you feel about Carson Wentz and Michael Pittman. Why don't you share with our listeners?
Yeah, I'm really high on Carson Wentz, much higher than the industry right now overall. People forget how good he was. I mean, maybe not from a real football perspective, but last year the Eagles were bad, and he put up bad performances for his team. But for your fantasy team, he finished, I believe, 4 times inside the top 10 on a weekly basis last year. I mean, he's running the ball, or he's able to run the ball. We've seen video clips. I think his foot is okay. That was another one of those weird, maybe it was a little overblown, a little bit panic. Yeah. But yeah, the situation he's in, I think people are forgetting that he can be a very good fantasy quarterback. There's a league I drafted him with my last pick, and he's my starting quarterback this week.
Yeah, I think there's really just a perfect storm of bad vibes coming out of the Colts offseason with the injuries and the COVID and the kind of recent success or lack of success that Carson Wentz has had. I think that a lot of people saw his name coming in and were shaking their head to begin with. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I agree with your take there. I like the talent of Michael Pittman to an extent. I like the opportunity a lot more. We'll see what happens, man. We'll take one more of these. Just a reminder, everybody listening, our phone line is open. 618 Fanline. Give us a call. Join us on the air. Ask questions. Chat with our supremely knowledgeable expert guest who we're so lucky to have. Aaron Larson is on with us. We're going to take another piece of news. Emmanuel Sanders' foot questionable for week 1. There have been a lot of conflicting narratives about that wide receiver 2 spot in Buffalo. If he can't go, are you firing up Gabe Davis against the Steelers?
Yeah, and like so many things, it depends on your options, but I'm totally fine with putting him out there. Buffalo is going to be the team that very well could lead the league in passing attempts this year. And they run a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. So if he's out there and they're chucking the ball around, I mean, he's showed some huge big play upside last year as a rookie. He should only be getting better. So Sanders, if he's out, Gabe Davis is going to be on the field all the time.
Yeah, I was high on Gabe Davis coming in anyway prior to the Emmanuel Sanders injury. I know Sanders has gotten a lot of hype as the number 2 option over there. He's a vet. I think he's going to start hot, maybe cool off, and we're going to see that torch pass to Gabe Davis, I think, sooner than later in the season. But this might be an indication of much sooner than even I thought coming in. Yep. So I do like Gabe Davis. Steelers are a tough defense, but if he gets the targets, he gets the targets, and that offense is going to move. So let's move over to some mailbag. Once again, our line is open, 618 Fanline, if anyone wants to join the show. In the meantime, if you can't join us live, we do have a mailbag contact form over at fantasyfanline.com. Get your questions read live on the air. If we get to them, I'm going to start us off with a friend of the show, Horse from Jersey Shore, who has called in a couple times in the past. I happen to know he has a birthday coming up on Monday the 13th. Nice. Happy early birthday, Horse in Jersey Shore. Another year has passed since you were a young foal. Did I get that right? Is that a baby horse?
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you've grown into a steed, and Horse is wondering, do I start Jamar Chase or DJ Chark this week? Or do I bench David Montgomery in a bad matchup against the Rams? So I guess he's looking at a flex spot or maybe a couple of flex spots, and I'm going to assume 2 flex spots, 3 options between Montgomery, Jamar Chase, and DJ Chark.
Yeah, so just looking at the receivers first between Chase and Chark, I would go with Jamar Chase just because that connection with Burrow. Yeah, I know we've had a lot of negative stuff come out about him lately. That ridiculous, I don't know why he would ever say this, but the NFL ball is hard to catch because it doesn't have the white stripes on it. Like, that was one of the strangest quotes I had ever seen. But
you know what? That immediately moved Chase up my list of favorite players personally, but probably farther down in my fantasy rankings.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you took a year off. Were you not catching an NFL ball for that year you were off?
Yeah.
Anyway, he is the highly drafted receiver. Bengals, another team that 3 wide receiver sets, want to throw the ball all over the field. Chark, I just don't know. I know it's a good matchup, but with rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and we didn't get to see Chark and Lawrence out there in the preseason to see how that's going to look. So yeah, I would take Chase of the 2, and then to speak to Montgomery, yeah, it's not a great matchup, but he's a guy that I'm starting if I have him, because I probably drafted him to start him. The matchup, again, not ideal, but with the Tariq Cohen news and everything, that's what made Montgomery so good last year. So he could still be the pass catching back. He's still going to get the volume. And as good as we think the Rams defense should be on paper, things change from year to year. Like, there's a lot we think we know and we might not be as good at predicting.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Montgomery. He's an auto start for me from that group. Chark, I'm kind of out on the season just because I'm a big Laviska Shenault fan, and if I have to throw a dart at a so to speak, number 1 wide receiving option over in Jacksonville, Chenault's my guy, without having necessarily seen it yet with Trevor Lawrence. But
yeah, I think they're going to find a way to get the ball to him, and I think it's going to be kind of another situation where Laviska is going to get his no matter what, and It might go back and forth between Marvin Jones and Chark other weeks.
Yep, Shenault will get his catches, he'll get some carries, and I think he's going to be kind of the featured weapon over there. We have another caller coming in. We are going to hop over and take this. Caller, welcome to Fantasy Fanline. You are live with us on the air with Aaron Larson. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. My name is Dave, and I'm calling from Boston.
Hey, Dave. Welcome to the show. What can we help you with today?
Thank you. Say it again, sorry.
What can we help you with today? What's on your mind?
So I got 2 questions. The first question is that and you guys might have mentioned it earlier, is that I just read that Matthew is coming off the COVID list, and I have this choice between ODB, Devonta Smith, Corey Davis, and I have ODB in my lineup now, but with if Matthew's playing this this weekend, do I have to be worried about that?
So I'm not too worried about that. If you're talking about considering OBJ, I think he's going to be in for a good game this week. In the Kansas City matchup, points should be flying. He's going to be the number one target in that game for Baker. I'm good with OBJ there.
Okay, nice. All right, I'll take it. And then my second question is, so I won the league last year, and this year I'm kind of like the champion of the league, and I was wondering, should I be a heel or should I be the kind of like the humble champion of this year?
That's a great question.
It really is.
I think you got to be the heel, man. That's fantasy football. That's part of the fun. You don't win the league every year. So. Have fun with it.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Awesome.
We're proud of you. We're proud of you for taking that title home last year. I agree with Aaron's answer. I think you have to play the heel. It's always more compelling, and honestly, it's a favor to your league mates because it really inspires them to chase you and take you down. Nobody wants to dethrone a nice guy. You feel a little bad about knocking off a face at the top of the league, but you got a good heel champion. It really gives them something to aspire to, and it makes them feel better about themselves if they succeed, and honestly worse about themselves if they fail. And that's really at the spirit of fantasy football trash talk, is it not?
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. And any decision I make, I just say that I was the champion. I am the champion, so you don't have to worry about it.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You could say whatever you want because you walked the walk, man. You backed it up. So
you lose a matchup, just say, look at the name of the top of the list last year.
Yeah. Now, are you in a league with an actual physical, trophy of some sort or a title belt?
Oh yeah. We have a trophy. We have a sweater that we pass around that we stitch our name in every year and pass around to every champion. Every Sunday afternoon, I take a picture with me and my trophy and the sweater. Just let them know, who they're playing against this year.
That is incredible. Shout out to your league for having such a cool tradition. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard a championship sweater before.
It's the best.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show. Hope to have you again in the future.
Bye.
Oh, that is awesome. That is definitely the first heel face question I've ever got.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right, let's move on here. See if we have anything else coming in. Oh, we have a comment coming in from YouTube from Alex Brack. Wants to know Russell Gage, Devonta Parker, or Tyrell Williams full PPR. I know the options aren't great, but yeah, 3 wide receiver plus flex, 12-team league. What do you think?
Russell Gage there. I think he is going to be basically because of the PPR. The PPR is what pushes Gage over the top there. I think the ball might be flying around a lot in that Eagles-Falcons game, and he's going to get targets. He got targeted last year, and not much has changed.
Yep, 2 great offenses, 2 bad defenses. I think a lot of people really didn't realize the extent to which Gage was used last year. Even with Julio on the team, he saw a ton of red zone targets. We had a stat on this show a week or 2 ago. I don't have it off the top of my head, but he was top 10 in the league in wide receiver red zone target share last year. So I don't think we're going to see that change with Julio out of the picture. I know Kyle Pitts is there. He's a rookie tight end. Historically, rookie tight ends take a minute to warm up, if not a full season or 2. I know he's supposed to be the best of all time, but
yeah, I do think that he is that dude. I think he might have a great season. I don't think it takes that much away from Gage. I'm not saying Gage is a top 24 receiver, but at that point, he's going to be safe.
I think Pitts has the best rookie tight end season of all time, but the extent to which he would have to set new records for that category would be so ridiculous to be kind of the clear number 2 target on that team behind Calvin Ridley. I don't think it goes that far in his first year. I think he lights it up. I think he's great. And I think there's going to be still plenty of work for Gage, especially without much of a run game there.
Yep.
So
Totally
good
agree.
question, Alex. Thanks for writing in. Let's take another look back at the mailbag, see if there's anything we haven't hit yet. Oh, I like this one. Should I flex Claypool or Chenault this week from Karina in New Jersey? I think a lot of people kind of grabbed those 2 guys in the middle, early, late rounds, hoping for big things this year.
Yeah, I've seen that one come up a lot, actually. And going to go back to it sort of depends on what you're going for. If you want the big home run upside, it's Chase Claypool. But if I'm looking for safety or I'm feeling pretty good about my matchup with my opponent, I'm going with Chenault. I think he's, like we talked about earlier, he's going to get his touches. They're going to be built into the game scheme.
Yeah, Steelers are at Buffalo. Jaguars are at Houston, just to get an idea of the matchups. So we have some more comments coming in. Alex says, thanks for the answer. And he's going to jump in with a follow-up question here. What about Gage or Jamar Chase? I'm very skeptical of Chase, as you should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Between those two, I would go with Gage in the full PPR setting. The game narrative that we think is going to be going on this week.
There you go, Alex. Aaron is at... I'm going to take this old question off the screen here. Aaron is at A Larson on Twitter. If he gets these questions wrong, you know where to find him. Send your rage tweets his way.
Bring it on.
How Thigh on YouTube. 12-team PPR stuck deciding between Swift, Corey Davis, or Tyson Williams filling in the flex spot.
Yeah, I am not a huge DeAndre Swift fan, but of those choices, he's the guy I would go in full PPR. Seems like he's going to be healthy. Going against the 49ers, not ideal, but the Lions have no pass catchers really to speak of. He's going to be part of that passing game.
Mm-hmm. I do like Swift of that group. I would also kind of put a +1 on Corey Davis. Just given the format.
Going a little under
PPR,
the radar too, for sure.
He is, man. The Jets are playing the Panthers this week. I think he's going to be the guy over there. And what that means depends on what you think about Zach Wilson. Just the vibes that I'm getting from him in the offseason. I hate to say this, but I think the Jets have themselves a quarterback over there.
He's been fun to watch in the preseason for sure. I mean, it's not really a stretch to say he may have been the best looking rookie quarterback in the preseason.
Yeah.
And that's quite a class.
I think so too. And I should clarify, I don't hate to say it because I do like the Jets. I have a lot of Jets fans, friends living in New Jersey. Myself, it just feels weird to say it. It feels weird. It feels wrong. But you know what? We live in a world where the Browns are going to be a great team this year. So I guess all bets are off the table. But I think ultimately the answer here, I would wait and see on Tyson Williams. If I have those options of that caliber, Swift and Corey Davis, I would definitely take one of them. Aaron leans Swift. I would probably ultimately agree with him. He's going to catch all the passes over there, isn't he? They have nobody else. It's just him and
Hawkinson.
Yeah, him and Hawkinson. So there you go. Back to the mailbag. This was an interesting question that I had never really heard anyone deep dive into before. I don't know how deep you want to get on it, but what factors do you look at when picking a kicker to stream? From Scott, California.
Yeah, I like this one because I still do play in leagues with kickers. I put zero thought about it into the off season. And then once the games start, it reminds me I need to pick up a kicker for 1 week still.
You're welcome.
So I will be doing this. First of all, look at the projected point total. High scoring games. If you're scoring a lot of points, the kickers are going to be involved. Extra points and field goals both. And then the tiebreaker for me usually is, especially later in the season, is weather. If they're kicking in a dome, that's definitely a plus. If they're playing in LA, that's a lot different than playing in Green Bay. So that's usually my tiebreaker.
Yep. Weather and projected point totals from Vegas are the big things for me, I think. And also just take a look at recent usage trends. Sometimes with kickers, especially, trends in opportunity and success rate are more important than the potency of the offense. If you have a good kicker on a team that stalls a lot in the red zone, they're gonna be hot for a while consistently, more so than some of those guys who convert more often in the red zone. Yeah,
and I don't look a lot at especially if you get the extra bonuses for longer kicks. Like there are guys that have the 50, 55-yard legs, and there are guys who don't ever get those chances because they don't have the legs. So if you can find those guys, nice little another tiebreaker.
Yep. How Thai on YouTube, who we helped a few minutes ago, says thank you so much for the input. You are so welcome. Just a reminder to everybody watching us on all platforms across the world. Our phone line is open right now, 618 Fanline. If you'd rather give us a call and chat with us using the old phone in your pocket. Aaron and I were joking before the broadcast started that this is a format that really forces people to remember that their phone can also make phone calls. If you open the app with the picture of the phone on it, you can dial us 618 Fanline and we will talk to you and answer your questions. But until that happens, I'm gonna kind of shoehorn one last segment here into our final 10 minutes. This is a segment that we call Roto Olympics here on the show, kind of a nod to the rotisserie football origins of our great sport, not really a sport, our game, our hobby. And what we like to do is kind of come up with a different fantasy football themed game to play with our guests every week, and sometimes with a caller if we have one on the line. It doesn't look like we do at the moment, so you're gonna kind of take this one solo, Aaron. We're gonna play archery this week, and I'm looking down because I'm pulling up some info on my phone. But the idea of fantasy archery and Roto Olympics is I'm gonna throw out a category and ask you to take a guess at the closest answer, and depending on how close you get, if you're playing with somebody else, whoever gets closer to the target wins. This week we are going to be talking about 2020 ADP on some of these guys.
All right.
And really taking a look at how that ADP has changed from last year to this year, what caused it to change, and kind of identify potential guys being drafted in that area this season who might make a similar leap for next year, if it's a leap. Sometimes it's bad. So we're going to start with Stefon Diggs. If you can remember all the way back to 2020, which seems like a lifetime ago at this point, where was he being drafted?
Yeah, I think
this is half PPR for the record.
Okay. I think he was somewhere in the 6th round. Are you looking for an overall number, or is round good enough?
Give me a number. Take your best shot.
All right. So if he was in the 6th round,
you don't have to give me a number, but give me like a spot in the 6th round.
Oh, okay. Let's say 6.4. The 6.4.
Dude, you just kind of caught the outside of that bullseye. It is 603. That was a great guess, man. Yeah, so he was the wide receiver 27 off the board last year. He finished as the wide receiver 3 and obviously led the league in receptions. So
yeah, if you drafted him, you did well last year.
Huge jump from him. This year's wide receiver 27 in ADP is Odell Beckham. I don't think we'll see that kind of a jump from him, but as far as guys with talent go, I guess it wouldn't be the craziest thing that's ever happened, but kind of the closest to that
top
draft
3
spot.
would be tough, but
Top 3 would be tough, but 603 closest to that kind of area this year are Chase Claypool and T. Higgins. Don't know that they'll get to top 3, but certainly potential for growth in both of those guys. Sure. I thought it was an interesting thing to look at. So next we're going to look at Darren Waller, tight end of the Raiders. Where was he going in last year's draft?
Oh, he was climbing a little bit, but nowhere near where he's at this year. So I'm going to say near the 4 or 5 turn. Let's say the 501. That
was what I thought before I looked it up. He went 604.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was getting disrespected last year. I think people hadn't fully bought in on the breakout yet. And he was drafted as a tight end 5. He's going at the back of the 2nd this year as the tight end 2, obviously. I don't really know that there's anybody else going in that area who can make a similar jump. But if you had to kind of pick one guy from the mid rounds, tight end wise, who might break into that tier of elite options next year, that kind of 1, 2, 3 tight end spot.
So he's a little bit higher up in ADP, I think, but TJ Hawkinson is that guy for me. I think the narrative is almost the same. Not a lot of other pass catchers on the team. We don't really love the quarterback, but a tight end that's been growing his 3rd year in the league now. He was drafted highly. Hawkinson, I think, could be that guy.
Yeah, that would be my answer too. I hear a lot of people kind of put that label on Noah Fant, and I don't think it's there. I don't think that they have the passer to support it.
And they have better receiver options, yeah.
Too many talented receivers over there. And, I like Fant as an athlete. I haven't really seen the world-breaking talent yet at the position, but, we'll see what we get this year. Maybe that changes. Kenyon Drake, this is kind of a tough one. He was the guy on the Cardinals last year. Where was he being drafted?
I thought he was around the 1-2 turn. He was high, so I'll say 202.
Dude, once again, off by just a hair. 203. That is an incredible guess, man. He was going as the running back 12. He finished as the running back 14. I think he had a better season than a lot of people.
It felt worse than that, yeah.
Remember, it really did. Chase Edmonds, for comparison, is the guy we think in Arizona this year. He's being drafted at the 602 as the running back 29 right now. So he's somebody that I was kind of pointing out as a value all offseason. Do I think he is a top 12 guy? Probably not. But I think that
ADP is just about right for him.
Yeah, you like him in the 6th?
In the 6th, yeah. I don't like it because if you're getting him there, you've got a lot of other strong options in front of you.
Is that
you're
because
not relying
you have
on him.
Concerns about usage with James Conner over there?
It's a little bit of James Conner maybe vulturing some touchdowns, and then it's also like I think Kyler Murray is going to be responsible one way or another for kind of like the Buffalo situation where we don't really like their running backs because Josh Allen does everything. I think that's going to be Kyler Murray this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I like him from the perspective of I don't know if I understand the fear of James Conner taking work from him, because I feel like James Conner is worse at this point in his career than Chase Edmonds was last year. And Chase Edmonds was the guy threatening to take work away from Kenyon Drake, and people were all about Drake. So I think that I fall somewhere in the middle, happy medium. I like him as more of a top 20 guy. Not top 12, but certainly not, 29, 30 where he's been going. So.
Yeah, I think, yep, that's right in the mid to upper 20s is perfect.
Yeah, here's a fun one. Antonio Gibson. Where was he going last year on the Washington
was
football
really
team?
late because I'm in a keeper league, and I got to where we get to keep our picks for the previous year plus or one round earlier, and I got to keep him. I think for my 10th round pick. So I'm going to say he was going in the 11th round last year. Let's say 1101.
It was close to the 10th. He was the 909 and half PPR. He was the running back 44, and he was the first running back off the board last year from the Washington football team. So
yeah, they had the Darius Geis disappeared right before the season kicked off, I think, right?
Yeah, the only team with a later running back last year was Jacksonville, and they had their own injury situation going, and Raquel Armstead and that whole saga. But Gibson is going at the top of the second this year as the RB12. Yeah, that's a big jump, man. I don't know that there's any running backs in that range with the potential to make that kind of a jump. But if you had to kind of take a dart throw, the last team with a running back going this year, I think, is Houston with David Johnson, and that's probably not where I would look for a for a pot of gold.
No, I actually think Phillip Lindsay's going to have a better season, but I don't think it's going to be Antonio Gibson season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's look at some wide receivers. Terry McLaurin, where was he going last year? Staying in Washington.
Yeah, so I feel like he was a middle-ish round guy. Let's say 708.
Yeah, people were a little higher on him than that. He was 509, wide receiver 24. Okay. So he was being taken as like a lower wide receiver 2. He's going in the middle of the third this year, 306 as the wide receiver 10. So he jumped up 14 spots in the wide receiver rankings. Guys going around where he went last year, this year, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool. Can we see that kind of a trajectory from those guys?
I love all three of those guys.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ayuk and Moore are probably my two favorite breakout candidates this season. People talk about DJ Moore breaking out. I'm like, I think he did break out. He just needs to get in the end zone. Yeah,
agreed. I think that this is a perfect testament to why so many people who are kind of paying attention to value over replacement picks and things like that were really beating the drum for stacking up on high draft capital running backs this year. There was so much value this year and last year in those kind of mid-round wide receivers, the 4, 5, 6, even 7th rounds. A lot of great options for potential wide receiver 1 breakouts and steady wide receiver 2s.
Yes. Yep. So many of these second-year guys that are just primed to break out this year.
Yeah, I see a question coming in from Twitch. It looks like Hurts or Herbert week 1 from Summit 3K. Great question.
Yeah, it is that's a good quarterback situation to have. I would go Jalen Hurts. He has that every week running back or quarterback 1 upside because he practically is a running back. Right. I mean, and again, Atlanta matchup, not a scary matchup. Give me Jalen Hurts there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations for having that problem to begin with. I think that there's really no wrong answer in this situation. You're going to be good probably either way. Hurts has a little more volatility. I think a little more risk. I like Herbert's receiving options a lot better. I like him as a passer, but if I'm
a little bit tougher matchup for Herbert this week too with Washington.
Yeah, if we're talking a 1 week, decision for fantasy, it's Hurts for me as well. Thank you for the question. Speaking of Herbert, let's take a shot. Maybe one of our last 1 or 2 here in fantasy archery. Where was Keenan Allen going last year?
All right.
Got to think way back in the storylines.
Well, and because Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback for the team, Herbert wasn't supposed to come in. So I'm going to say I'm on the top of the 5th round. It's like 502. A little low, maybe.
Exactly right, man. You just shot the arrow straight down Broadway into the bullseye. Nice. He was 502. How about that, man? That's why we keep you around, Aaron.
Appreciate it.
Wide receiver 21 off the board last year with the quarterback volatility after Phillip Rivers left town. He's going 305 this year as the wide receiver 9. The wide receiver this year who's being drafted, and I love this parallel in terms of narrative, being drafted around the 502, wide receiver 21, is Julio Jones.
Interesting.
The talented veteran kind of being discredited for narrative.
Playing with a new quarterback.
Playing with a new quarterback over in Tennessee. Do you think we could be looking at him again as a top 10 guy in maybe the early third next year?
Yeah, top 10 is hard. If he finishes in the top 10, then he'll be there next year in the top 3 rounds. But I see him as a top 24 guy. I don't think he hits top 10.
Yeah. Big name dude. We'll see how the target share shakes out over there. I think that there are a lot of people who are starting to look at his age and are concerned just on paper, but I haven't seen anything on the field, on camera, that suggests that he's slowing down.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I know he was one of the league leaders in yards per target, I think it was last year. It was just when he was on the field, he's great.
Yeah, agreed. We'll do one more of these. We're at 3:00 p.m. Eastern time, which is usually when we wrap things up, but I'll leave the line open another couple minutes if anyone wants to call in with a last minute question. We are 618 Fanline. Pick it up, chat with us live on the air, talk some fantasy football. Where was Justin Jefferson being drafted last season? Rookie year wide receiver for the Vikings.
Yep, he was late. I'm going to guess he was 1102.
Even worse than that, it was 1203.
Wow.
He was the wide receiver 54. He was not really getting any kind of hype coming into the year. He's going in the 211 spot this year, wide receiver 7. Guys who were being drafted around where he was being drafted last year, Elijah Moore, Bryan Edwards.
Yeah, well, Elijah Moore is going to get some opportunity this week. Start off right away.
I do see a call coming in. We'll take that in a second, but I also just want to throw out there that Brandon Ayuk was also going at the back of the 13th. He was the guy I was thinking about bringing up, but he was being drafted last year where Terrace Marshall Jr. is going this year, and I know you're a big Terrace Marshall
Jr.
fan.
Him, yes.
So, there's a possible avenue there for growth. We're going to take this last call, and then we're going to call it a day here. Caller, welcome to Fantasy Fanline. You are on the air with us. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm Joe from Boston.
What's going on, Joe from Boston? Welcome to the show.
I got a deep sleeper question for you guys. I got a question. I got a pending trade offer. Should I do Tony Jones or trade for Le'Veon Bell? What do you think?
I would go with Tony Jones there. I don't think Lev's got anything left. I think Tony Jones is going to have a role for sure.
Yeah, I get the hype.
Cool.
With a potential opportunity on a great run offense in Baltimore with Lev Bell. He's a big name, but I think if you were watching him the past couple of years, just didn't pass the eyeball test. And I think that the fact that he was available for them to grab and put on the practice spot to begin with probably speaks to what the league kind of thinks of him these days as a talent. So I agree. I think Tony Jones, we haven't seen it yet, but he's Schrodinger's cat right now. He's got all the potential in the world to be great or to be nothing. But I think I will take the chance at him being good, being serviceable.
Definitely.
Cool, man. What about Kadarius Toney, a deep sleeper maybe? Tony?
I think he could be a deep sleeper.
Have a good one, guys. I got to go.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Hope to hear from you again in the future. Just in case he listens back later, what do you think of Kadarius Toney?
Yeah, he's a guy that's being left for dead, but I think we kind of mentioned this earlier that Evan Engram being out, that sort of opens up more targets, more touches, and the report came out that they are going to be scheming him to be part of the offense. They drafted him in the first round. Not a safe guy by any means, but he might surprise us.
Yep, and he might be, we just talked about some first-round wide receiver draft picks from last season who were not getting a ton of hype. People kind of rolled their eyes coming into last year, and they lit the world on fire. So I don't project him to be one of those guys this year, but there is a world where that happens. Especially if Galladay can't get healthy, the hamstring issues are tough. They linger. Ingram is always banged up. I think he's been injured since he was a baby. So, if you like Tony, if you like the talent, feel good about him, take a shot. He was cheap, and he might be one of those guys to pop this year. Aaron, we are just over an hour. Thank you so much again for doing this, man. This was a lot of fun. Do you want to take a moment, plug some stuff you got coming up, let the listeners know again where to find you, what you're up to?
Yeah, I'll rattle it off quick. So with the Fantasy Footballers, I write the Target Report article that comes out every week. So then Team Rise or Falls, where I put some DFS articles. They come out. One just came out today about game stack for DFS. And then I am part of the expert consensus ranking over at Fantasy Pros. And then I have my own podcast called the Process Fantasy Football Podcast, where I kind of just lay out how I'm viewing each week. That comes out every Thursday morning.
There you have it, folks. Go check out Aaron Larson everywhere he is, and he is everywhere. He's a consummate pro, one of the best in the business, and now new friend of the show. We're happy to have you, man. Thanks for doing this.
It's been great. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we'll be live every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the rest of this season. We are back next weekend with Chris Mashinsky from the practice squad. And you can visit fantasyfanline.com, our website, to see a full schedule of our upcoming guests. Follow us everywhere at Fantasy Fanline. You can subscribe and stream us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, or find us the next day on your favorite podcast platform. Come get us anywhere you like us. If you like the show, please leave a review, tell a friend. We have a Patreon if you want to support us for as low as $1 a month. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time on Fantasy Fanline. Goodbye.